The X books. We're back at the Hellfire Gala. We have 3 X books this week, starting with Wolverine number 13. Everybody's having their own little side stories throughout this. Every book, it's not a continuous narrative. Every little book is kind of like having their own little plot, branching off plot points here. But the one
except, I'm sorry, I was so thirsty.
Do you want to say
to say that? Yes, all except for one comic that is literally just an extension of the other.
Yeah, which is this one, essentially. But in general, last we left off, the mutants of Krakoa have terraformed Mars and are using it as a separate, not only, as a planet for, extraterrestrial affairs, but also for inhabiting the mutants of Arakko. They essentially split that island in half and shoved all the Arakko mutants onto Mars, which is a pretty hard flex. But yeah, a lot of the leaders are, of course, like not jiving with it. But we're starting with with Wolverine, which is, like Josh said, a direct extension of X-Force, where there are essentially 2 little storylines going on. One, the more fun one, I guess, is that Deadpool's here and he's just being Deadpool everywhere. The second of which is that Beast's plan to literally take over a small South American, I guess, country has backfired huge, bigly.
Big time.
Yeah.
Epic proportions.
Yeah, and, X-Force, who are running security at the Gala, are just trying to manage it and not have everyone destroyed by these plant monsters. And everybody is like, oh, fuck, I hate Beast. Essentially, like, I think everybody's starting to get a little more tired of his shit. One country leader just, like, walks over to the bathroom and he gets attacked by the telephonic monster that used to be a what was it? Terra Verde diplomat. And yeah, and that's when Wolverine pulls through and is like, "Stop right there, bub." Starts fighting with the Thing. Meanwhile, Beast is like out here trying to clean up his mess. He's like, "I've got eyes on the other person who has a telephonic thingy." He notices that she was about to do something to whoever she's dancing with. And that's when Beast does a full Aaron Donald tackle, just like on her face. And he's like, "Might I have a word? Please be reasonable." And I'm like, I think bugging an entire civilization with bio weapons was not reasonable of you, Beast, but it's cool, I guess. And
he said, "Please, let's be reasonable."
Yeah.
After attacking her.
Yeah.
Oh, Beast.
Oh, Beast. And these Terra Verde folks seem to be completely aware of what Beast did to them, and they're not confused at all. They're aware that this is his fault.
No, 100%.
They're like, "Yo, you fucking did this to us. You programmed us. So, fuck you, man." The one guy that she was dancing with is like, "What?" It's kind of funny. And Beast is like, "Run along, you've just had a lot to drink, man." Huh? So he tries to go off and Quentin kind of like mind wipes him. So he doesn't remember what he just saw. Wolverine's going through his own battle with the telephonic dude, and he basically says the same thing that the lady did, is that you guys fucked us over when you bugged us with these things, and you know what? The programming failed. And after months of being shacked up inside my own body, I woke up in control. I might have come here as a political prisoner, but I'm leaving as a revolutionary. Meanwhile, on the boat, I don't know. I don't think this is the Marauder, right?
I think it is.
Oh, yeah. On the Marauder, we have Emma's brother Christian. I guess just like riding through it. I don't know why he has the boat. Oh yeah, they explain later, but yeah, he's just like riding the boat and he gets murdered by a shadowy figure. So I wonder who it could be. They steal the Marauder, essentially. So that's going to be a little bit of an interesting plot point for future Marauder issues. Maybe a Marauder retrieval arc.
The best kind.
Retrieval arcs. Second to tournament arcs. Best kind.
Yeah, second to, yeah.
So Domino's out here fighting these plant things, and she's having a rough time with it because all she has are her arms and legs, and her, I guess, cool Krakoan thing. But one of them got the jump on her, and who saves her but Deadpool, with a rocket launcher that he seemed to have shoved up his butt, jokingly, of course, I guess. And we cut back over to the point where Beast returns one of the diplomats to their chair, and he's basically like, all right, we can fix her. We can fucking fix the telefloronic system. And Sage is like, no. Oh man, this was actually my favorite part of the issue now that I think about it. Is like, she's like, no, we're done here. This was a mistake. We should never have done this thing. And Beast is like, what? Oh, this was your fault, huh? You did this. And she's like, don't be absurd. Now's not the time for infighting. And he's like, don't think I haven't noticed your tiny size and your stubborn silences. And she just slaps the shit out of Beast, as she should. Very into it.
And his glasses fall off too.
Yeah, good for Beast. God. So she's like, I'm going to get rid of the thing, and I'm going to fix this whole fucked up thing you've dragged us into. And I guess off screen we get this little informational page where Sage essentially created a bit of a truce with the Terraviridians. They agreed to not tell everyone that the X-Men literally tried to stage a coup on their country and take them over, in exchange for $1 billion.
Damn.
And to disregard all the pharmaceutical copyrights related to the discoveries they've made off the telefloronic technology that Terra-Verde has, and that they will their vote recognizing the Krakoan trade deal will pivot to a no. So don't talk to us, give us money, and you can't use the technology you bugged us with for your endeavors. So yeah, I mean, honestly, in terms of deals, it's pretty the best. That's the best way it could have went down.
I mean,
given that the X Factor,
they definitely made a fucking enemy.
Oh yeah, no, they're not cool.
Yeah, and they're gonna, they have their telephone. This is definitely gonna play a role.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah. But it's pretty much where the issue ends. The issue ends at 1:20 a.m. with Emma Frost confronting Beast on what they've been doing. Emma Frost has literally been policing this entire event from all these folks trying to make trouble. And she's like, yeah, this is getting a little crazy. That was kind of unnecessary what you did. And he said, well, is what I did any worse than terraforming a planet? And she's like, well, I'm sure you can intellectually justify anything that any shitty thing that anybody's done. Yeah. But Beast essentially is like, yeah, well, whatever, man. I'll take it. I'll take all the blame. Our whole thing here is like long-term survival. So, I'll do whatever I have to do to ensure that. And I'm like, Beast, you're still an asshole.
This confirmed that he was, he's not going to change. This is who he is. This is going to be Beast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really annoying.
This is the one sacrifice, bro.
I'll take it.
Did you think of anything else that we had to lose in the process?
I mean, as long as he keeps getting slapped in the face as a retribution for the things he does, I guess I'll accept it. But,
Yeah, like, bro, you doing shady human shit, bro.
you know,
Shady, greedy human shit.
And so Emma starts to walk away, but Beast gets a report that the Marauder is not in Madripoor. What happened there is, I guess he was supposed to be delivering Shi'ar logic diamonds to Kratos on Krakoa. And she's like, well, if it's not on the Marauder, what is it doing? If it's not in Madripoor, what is it doing? And it turns out someone has set fire to the Marauder, and that's where the issue ends. I mean, this was probably the best issue of Wolverine that I've read so far in its run. And it has almost nothing to do with him. It is kind of just like a continuation of the X-Force.
Has nothing to do with him.
Yeah. I mean, I like this issue quite a bit. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was good. I mean, as much as I'm like hot and cold as how like the treatment of Beast is in this arc, I guess it makes things kind of interesting. It just feels weird that it's Beast, you know?
Yeah, it does feel weird.
But again, I don't know much about the X-Men in the comics, and maybe Beast has a propensity to do this kind of thing. He was part of like the Illuminati, you know, in Hickman's run, so I guess this is somewhat consistent in that context. But I'm not sure. Do you have any thoughts about this particular issue before we move on to the next one?
No, I don't have any thoughts on that one anymore. But I have lots of thoughts for S.W.O.R.D, man.
Yeah, well, let's move on then with S.W.O.R.D number 6. So, okay, this issue starts off with a splash page of Captain America just looking off into space at the newly terraformed Mars. And he's just looking up like, damn, that's crazy. We see the Validator coming down with some guy, and he's talking about how, you know, these X-Men are...
Is that the Canadian guy? Is that the Canadian guy?
Yeah.
The Validator?
Yeah, I think that's his name, is the Validator. I don't know what his powers are exactly, but I remember his name, and I know he was like part of Alpha Flight or something. But yeah, that's who he is. Yeah, no, he's walking with this dude in a suit who's like whiling. Girich, actually, who's like talking about like, yo, these X-Men are going crazy with the X-Men represent a rogue nation, one that show how far they would go to take our place as the Earth's dominant species. Yeah, and you know, Validator's not like totally buying it. He's like, well, I don't know, man, this is crazy. I guess they just like thrusted this onto us in a way we didn't expect. And he's like, I'm right there with you. James, I'd like you to meet some people. Have you ever heard of a thing called Orcus?
That is... I wish the telepaths were listening.
Yeah, if only. And it's at that point Captain America gets interrupted by Dr. Doom, who is standing on dramatically on this.
Dramatically? Looks awesome, man.
I mean...
Oh my gosh.
I love Doom. Doom is...
Yeah.
Doom brings all of the drama ever. He's a dramatic man, and I don't hate it. He comes in as like, Captain, your thoughts? He's like, I don't know, dude. That's a big question. He's like, I guess I'm kind of shocked, you know? I guess you'd call me weak for that. And I loved Dr. Doom's like, oh, I have more respect for you than you imagine, Captain. After all, are we both not the faces of our nations?
That was a really interesting precursor.
Yeah.
For what this issue is going to ultimately reveal.
Yeah. So Steve basically tells him what he's thinking. And he's like, I mean, when I got out of the ice, I was like, I lost everything, all my best friend, everything I had. And I didn't know what to hang on to. And then Tony Stark came with his little camera, and he showed me a newsreel of everything that we've accomplished. And one of the things was like walking on the moon. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And he turned to Tony and he was like, so what about Mars? And Tony didn't really say. He just gave him a smile and he changed the subject. And now they're just sitting there watching it from the sidelines. You know, it feels like, you know, the mutants have just like passed them completely. And Dr. Doom's like, are you afraid? And Captain America gives a pretty cool response. I'm not gonna lie. He's like, afraid of what? The future? No. I mean, it's not. I'm not really afraid of it. I think it's kind of. I'm optimistic. You know, it seems like Steve doesn't really have like he believes that the X-Men don't have any ill intentions here. The only thing he's kind of sad about is like he wished that it didn't have to go down like this. Like they could have done it united. Humans and mutants. It's not. Imagine the strides that they could accomplish together, essentially. And yeah, it's a good little line from Steve. Very consistent with his character.
Yeah, it was.
I'm glad it didn't make him like, well, what is this? I don't,
No, I felt like they did something that was true to his character. I mean, the comic book version, not the the comic book version that I know written by authors I respect, not whatever bullshit propaganda that was made, back in the day. Which, by the way, I had a question. Captain America first came out when? What year? Do you remember? Like, what time?
World War II.
Huh?
I don't know.
During World War II.
Yeah. I think he was essentially a propaganda. He was like a propaganda guy. Like that scene from Captain America, the movie, like the first one, where he's like,
yeah, that
was essentially his role, and that was like a meta commentary on that, where like Steve in the movies was serving that purpose, and he grew out to be something more.
Yes.
But yeah. Well, that was a long time ago. I don't think he hasn't been like that.
Him getting frozen in the ice is a retcon then.
No, he was frozen in the ice, and like at the end of his story, like I guess in the end of his original run, he got frozen in the ice. He ended up on the Avengers.
Oh, but
the thing.
When did the Avengers start though?
Way after. 60s, I want to say. Brian, can you look that up? When was like the first issue of the
That's
Avengers?
Not that long to be frozen in the ice for like 18 years, as opposed to how they do it in the MCU, where it's been like 50 years.
Yeah, but you know what? It's kind of weird.
Way different, yeah.
It is a little different because at the same time, like they had much more of a distance to travel between, when Steve was around in World War II and now. So
a lot of things did change in those 20 years as well. A lot.
Yeah.
Changed. So, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just curious about that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It's kind of funny. He's like, yeah, I just wish we would I just hope that we do it together. And Dr. Doom's like, perhaps we will. There might be a time where you'll need my help, Captain. And when that day arrives, you have my word. I won't make a gala performance out of it. He opens a portal and he disappears into what I thought was just out of the issue. Like, this is it for Dr. Doom, but meanwhile, on the S.W.O.R.D Station 1, Abigail Brand seems to be explaining what just happened to the galactic representatives. It doesn't seem to be all of them, but there are a small handful of leaders across, the galaxy and shit that have come to check it out. One of them is Peter Quill. I didn't know he was like king of Spartax. Essentially.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah,
his dad was the king of Spartax, right?
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smasher's there.
Not Ego. Not Ego the planet.
No, not Ego. Smasher's there. Pybok is there from the Kree Skrull Alliance. Novar is there. Someone from the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda is there. Ritho.
Cool.
I remember in the current Black Panther run is about how there's been Wakandans in space for what seems to be forever, and they've just been like searching the globe and exploring and just building an empire in space forever. But sounds cool, and he's here now. So she's basically explaining like we have a diplomatic zone where you guys are more than welcome to visit if you want. And we've also installed another S.W.O.R.D station there, known as the Keep. and they're like, why do we care? Why should we care? You know, we're all doing our own shit. Who gives a shit what you guys want? Yeah, essentially most of the alien-looking aliens could give less of a shit what just happened.
Yeah.
The Earthbound ones, for the most part, are not thrilled.
They're just like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Let's see what you got. You know, they're not just... I'm sure they're impressed. I'm sure Peter Quill was like, damn,
yeah,
y'all been doing a lot. Y'all has been really coming up, huh?
Yeah.
Since Disney bought Fox. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Welcome to the stage. I'm Peter Quill.
Yeah.
All right.
The Wakandan guy seems to be like, I just don't care. The only one who's not thrilled about it is really Earth. And Richard Rider Nova, who is acting as representative for Earth, is like, yeah, what are you guys doing over here? What are you doing? What are you saying? What are you doing?
It's like, did you consult anybody else?
He's like, I mean, I'm meant to be Earth's representative on the Galactic Council, and they're like, well, you were busy, motherfucker. What did you want? We didn't know where you were. So basically, they get off to the main idea of this pitch. Is like, we know that you guys don't care. We know that this is not a huge deal to most of you, but it's exciting to us. And what we need to do is that we would like to offer you something. And they bring in Mysterium, the metal that they traveled through like dimensions to grab and have been stockpiling for a while now.
Yeah.
They explained that like there's this it's an Earth metal, but it's only accessible to Earth's mutant. So basically it's very malleable. It can be shaped pretty well, but once it cools, it's basically on par with adamantium. So, you know, they show it to Frenzy to like, you know, show off how even this thin kind of bar can't be broken easily. And even this Scree, who's a power scroll, who's a power scroll actually, tries to bend it and it doesn't bulge. So, you know, if you can make a ship out of this, it would be pretty fucking strong, huh? And they're like, well, what do you want? What do you want it for? What are we paying for if we get this, you know? And they're like, you know, Krakoa made a similar deal with Earth, you know, referring to the medicine and all that stuff. And what they really want is acknowledgement. They want to be respected as, you know, part of the overall galactic government. And yeah, that's basically all they want. It's just like, it's with the capital planet of the Sol system. They want to recognize Arakko as the capital, as I guess opposed to the Earth of their particular solar system. And she's like, any questions? And guess who pops up to ask a fucking question? Dr. Doom pulls in, dramatic as usual with his big ass portal.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah. And he comes in like, why should I care? And basically,
and I feel like he was like, why should we care what you care? like fuck, like what? Why would we entertain that question? We did not. Anyway.
Yeah.
We don't get into that. The reason he's here.
Yeah. So basically, he's like, why was I not invited? Do you think I'm not worthy of this shit? He demands an audience with the leader of Arakko. And he's like, who rules this new planet? Tell me, who is the king of Mars? Who would speak for Sol? And man, who comes to the portal? She's like, Victor, you know my name. And it's fucking Storm.
Right?
Yeesh. Storm is queen.
He said you know who it is.
You already know who it is. It's your boy Storm.
Yeah. Look at Dr. Oh,
no.
The lights. Everybody who's not worthy is like in awe and shock. Meanwhile, all the chill people are like,
yeah, the S.W.O.R.D people who knew. Yeah, the S.W.O.R.D people who knew are like Ororo. So yeah, basically, the Storm is Queen of Mars. That's pretty sick. We get a bit of a breakdown as to what happened. Everybody kind of accepted the metal except for the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda because they don't need mutant metal, probably because they have the vibranium out there. So, they really didn't have need for what the mutants were selling. But, yeah, they don't expect that to be like a real big bump in the road, But, yeah, that worked out. They're now a part of Space Society. And then we cut over to what I feel is like the post-credit sequence of this issue, like a very Marvel-esque post-credit sequence, very shocking. At 3 a.m., Magneto is chilling on his own out of his cool tuxedo top hat drip, and he's sitting alone with his mask like, here's to you and all you have wrought, my mask. That's pretty cool. And then from behind him, someone calls him by Magnus, and guess who it is? It's the fucking Scarlet Witch!
Yes, Wanda.
Yeah, which is super surprising, given how literally last issue when they brought up Franklin Richards, he's like, "Bah, we don't need pretenders, bye."
Right. He did say that.
But Wanda, who is like public enemy number 1 on this island, honestly, she pulls up and she's like, "I got your invitation," and she's like, "The pretender can't sit at the feast." And Magneto's like, "Did I ever tell you of my Anya?" Because I guess Magneto had another kid, and who died. And it got him thinking about how, this is a little confusing. I would think that they would have resurrected her unless she's not. She is a mutant. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know why they wouldn't resurrect her. But in any case, it got him to start thinking about how, he started failing his kids, and he hasn't been the best dad, and Scarlet Witch is like, "I'm not really your kid," and he's like, "I know, but sometimes what is real is not the same as what is true, and sometimes it takes two to pretend." So he basically,
it's not really his kid. Wait, no. Wanda isn't his daughter?
Yeah, I think that was like a deep retcon where they made it so Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were not his kids. I don't know the details.
They're children from Sokovia.
I'm.
They got powered up by the Mind Stone.
No, I don't know. At one point, they were Inhumans. At one point, as the movies say, they got powered by the Mind Stone. But yeah, I have no idea. If anybody in the comments wants to shout out exactly what the deal is between Magneto and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I would love to hear it. Let us know. It'd be pretty cool to know. But yeah, Magneto pulls her close and says, "You are my daughter, Wanda. You will always be my daughter, and I will do what I must to make things right." Yeah, wow. I did not see that coming even in the remote slightest. I did think that like Scarlet Witch was going to play a role, but I didn't think Magneto was going to be like, "I'm going to make this okay." Because of course,
we're going to make this okay.
Because of the House of X, of course, for those of you who don't know, Scarlet Witch is essentially known as like this genocidal monster, because she is responsible for the death of a lot of mutants that lost their powers, or are responsible for living mutants who don't have their powers anymore, that have to be kind of reintegrated into mutant society by way of Crucible. But yeah, it's kind of wild. Maybe this is why Magneto goes on trial. It's because he's been hiding Wanda around, or like speaking to her and, doing things.
I'm thinking that's exactly what happens.
I'm very interested. But this was my very good issue of the week.
Certified VGI. Certified VGI.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. S.W.O.R.D is like I think S.W.O.R.D comes out less frequently than the other books, but it's a banger every time almost, because it's always some big move every issue. Like something happens that's pretty revealing.
Yeah.
It feels like kind of the second most important book at this point. And I'm really
I think it's the most important, aside from the main X-Men book.
Yeah, I guess now that Hickman's leaving, it's probably the most important books. Probably not even in the X-Men but probably in Marvel, given what happens with the Kree-Skrull alliance in them. They seem to be into the future somehow. Maybe that's an Infernal like B storyline or something too. I don't know. There's a lot going on with S.W.O.R.D.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, the S.W.O.R.D is being written by Al Ewing.
Oh, the man.
So now that Hickman's not writing right now, this seems like the most important book by default, just because he's writing it.
I mean,
even if it was his own story and it was just labeled something with X.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man.
Yeah, I'm still giving it to him. I'm saying, no, this is the most important book. All the other stuff is fine.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't.
Luckily, we don't have to say that because all the stories gel.
Yeah, they all gel. But
for the most part.
But some move the plot forward a little more than others. But man, this was an interesting one. S.W.O.R.D's always interesting. But that's all I got to say about it. You ready to move on to our final X book? And this is Way of X number 3. So Nightcrawler goes to the Gala.
Nightwing.
I almost call him Nightwing. I get that sometimes. Okay, so it's kind of interesting. It made me think this issue because all throughout the other books, one through line is that Nightcrawler is shit-faced. He's just wandering around drunk as fuck. And this basically chronicles his Hellfire Gala night, which is the night itself is pretty uneventful. He's just running around drunkenly trying to figure out his whole morality problem with the rest of the mutants, and nobody wants to hear his shit because he's being a drunken madman at this point. And I guess like the whole premise of the series is just like Nightwing. God damn it! I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm sorry. Nightcrawler is trying to, I guess, go through the 3 main laws of Krakoa and I guess try to make them more meaningful or have them have more of an impact to mutants who are, understandably because of their newfound immortality, kind of just letting their morals slip by the wayside, and their value of life to the wayside. And this issue tries to deal with the first law, which is make more mutants. And he's just going through it. I do like this one panel where Beast has to be security guard. or he's
yeah.
I would like to think he's probably just trying to like deal with the fucking the Terraflonic shit.
No, that's exactly what's happening when he tells him to move over. That actually happens. And you know what? Keep reading. I'm going to try to find the panel and see if it lines up exactly. That would be really dope.
That'd be really cool if it did. It's got one thing I will say about this whole event is that it's got this cool Rashomon feel, where there's like different perspectives viewing the same event essentially. So
what'd you call that? Rashomon?
It's this movie called Rashomon, which is a movie about how these 4, I think like it's these 4 different, this one event interpreted by 4 different people, and the narrative follows those different perspectives. But yeah, Nightcrawler goes around, and we get the scene where he hits on, he congratulates M'gann for her pregnancy, way back in Excalibur. And finally, the issue ends with him passed out, actually, right next to Wanda and... Oh, wait. Is that it? That's funny.
Yeah. He's not dashing by them, but as you can see, it is Kurt. And look at the 2 girls.
Damn.
The 2 that are featured in this. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that before.
No, yeah, but did you peep it, like, at the very end of Kurt's, like, drunk trip? He's, like, right next to Magneto and Scarlet Witch, and it's like, whoa! Imagine if he saw them, what would happen?
Oh man, he'd teleport and tell everybody.
He'd be like, "Oh mein Gott,
mein Gott."
So the next morning, Nightcrawler is of course hungover, and he goes over to Dr. Nemesis, who's like doing science things and being annoyed by Dazzler, and he basically yeets his coffee and just like chugs it all, basically, because he is hung the fuck over.
He said, "Give,
give me." But yeah, essentially, Legion pulls up to this place where Pixie is kind of ran into some trouble. There's been 2 mutants who are trying to smash, and
smash.
And they can't, because one of their powers, which is Sharpie Sharp powers, activates when she gets excited. So the Legion volunteers to kind of help them with their predicament. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler runs into a familiar face, apparently, Stacy X.
Apparently.
Yeah. I don't know.
She's a snake.
Yeah.
No, she literally looks like a snake. Look at her arms.
Yeah, you're right, huh? Interesting. So basically she guides Kurt. Kurt's like kind of tell her is like, man, I mean, I don't know. He actually peeps her like handing out contraceptives to mutants. And he's like, wait a minute, what are you doing? That's against the first law, which is make more mutants. We're supposed to procreate, make more mutants. And she's like, all right. I don't know about that, buddy. We gotta like have children every single time we smash.
A really good point is made in this comic, actually.
Yeah. She basically takes them to this place called the Bower. And it's basically for people to go and have like intimate relationships. It doesn't have to be sex necessarily. These people just come here and they have like, time with a significant other or, someone they just met. And Nightcrawler like likens it to a brothel, and he gets real like Catholic judgy. And he goes like, "You've built a brothel on Krakoa." She slaps the shit out of him immediately.
Is that a backhand? No, it's not.
No, it's a front hand.
Because her hand would have been facing this way after.
Yeah, it would have been like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, "You could be really tiny-minded sometimes. You know that?" He's like, "I'm sorry." But, these people need support, but they don't need this. And she brings up the point. It's like, you know how many religions got a history of temple sex, dude? Like, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing here, But yeah, come with me and I'll show you something else that's like that might be a little bit more meaningful. Meanwhile, Legion's solution to these 2 ladies' smashing problem is to have them do some psychic smashing.
Psychic sex.
Yeah. It's funny because like Legion had this relationship with this girl, and the way they used to like smash is through psychic connection, and apparently it is infinitely more awesome. Like, it feels way better when you do it through psychic connection. It is so dope. And in the middle of them canoodling in the mind,
eating ice cream and turning their body into object. Oh, that's just the metal girl. She's she's just like, look what I'm doing. This is part of who I am.
Check it out.
I make shapes with my arms. I like it. It's fun.
This feels
and the other girl's like, oh, cool. I like ice cream.
Hey, check it out. I'm swimming with dolphins now, dude. Have you seen
that's lit. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so at that moment...
slicing lemons.
I guess that's satisfying. And at some point, like, the girls start writhing in the mental, in the mental space, and Legion is like, haha, I caught him, and they get inside, and sitting on a ball, 2-women ball, is the Onslaught guy, as we know him as the Patchwork Man at this point, but
Yeah.
Onslaught has been terrorizing the mutants since Wave X #1 as the Patchwork Man, and he is terrorizing these two who are just trying to find love, and it really fucks them up. They kind of like are repulsed by each other, and they run away from each other, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah, I'm like, damn. Dude.
Nigga jumps out and starts like laughing. I didn't know he was like that. I didn't think he was that petty. I thought Onslaught had more of a bigger picture in mind.
Yeah, he's just nope, just
petty criminal,
just not allowing people to have sex.
Very intrusive.
I'm gonna cock block the entire nation of Krakoa. So he flies away, and I guess Legion's like, well, that didn't work out well. And we cut back over to the Bower, and it's revealed that there are mutant babies there. And Nightcrawler's like, wait, what? What's this? And apparently, because people, who aren't necessarily ready to be parents, and because they have this immortal life now, they just like smash recklessly and make babies and get pregnant. And a lot of them aren't ready to have kids, so what they do is they just literally abandon their children. And this Stacy X girl finds them, and she basically takes care of these kids. It's like an orphanage.
Yeah.
Apparently, Krakoa has not authorized like a foster home situation. It's so weird. No, they didn't do that.
Yeah, I guess they think that's a pretty small detail in the midst of things, which I guess, sure, I understand it. It's not like no one's perfect. No nation is perfect. It is what it is. But they got to get on that really fast.
Yeah, I
would
would
fuck
think...
a religion, Kurt. Why don't you sign some paperwork and make this happen?
Yeah. I mean,
Please.
Kurt is on the council, so he could bring it to their attention. But yeah, we get to see Lost again. The mutant that's been trying to talk to Nightcrawler for the last 2 issues. And apparently Stacy X knew her. Her name is Marinette. She lived in New Orleans, and she didn't have her powers, of course. We know this because of Wanda Mageddon, I think is what she calls her.
Wanda Geddon.
And yeah, she basically takes care of the kids and helps her there. And that's when Fabian Cortez just kind of stumbles in after trying to hit on this muscular lady. She throws the Magneto helmet at him, and I don't know why. Did he have it?
No, I think... Okay. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
It was a kink. He wanted her to wear the Magneto helmet. To turn them on in weird ways. So gross.
Ew.
She said, I don't like your creepy poems and I won't wear that stupid helmet. Get a haircut. She went in on him.
Yeah, the haircut comment was unnecessary, I think.
Yeah.
That was an extra hurt. That was an extra punch to the gut. At that point, Fabian starts to brag. He's like, don't you know who I am? I led the Acolytes. And at that moment, the Patchwork Man commands Lost to attack him because she seems to have a history with the Acolytes. And
yeah, it targeted that negative emotion and used it to take control, I guess, coerce her.
Yes.
Coerce.
And she uses her gravity powers to crush Fabian for a minute. It
looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
He's in a time chamber. No, they're in that gravity room. That's what I was thinking about.
The hyperbolic time
Dragon Ball Z. Not the hyperbolic time chamber. That shit.
The gravity room. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Fabian immediately starts choking Lost. And at that point, that's when Legion comes in and he's like, the cavalry is here. And he essentially, I guess, expels Onslaught from Lost's body, it seems. So, they tell everybody to scram, and we get an informational page kind of explaining what Onslaught is. It's a unique etheric chimera created from the combined psychic profiles of Professor X and Magneto. So, yeah, they didn't tell... They voted not to really tell anybody about this because, they don't want to really panic anybody quite yet. But yeah, in any case, the issue ends with them having a drink at the bar. Nemesis gets annoyed at Dazzler while they're kind of like talking. Nightcrawler's like, so what does Krakoa need if not production? And she's like, people are going to smash. It's not going to, we don't need to worry about that. It's just, softening the barriers, making mutants feel like they're all in the same story. Which is a little confusing way of, like, I guess, explaining it.
It was a confusing way of explaining it, but I understood what she meant.
Yeah.
I think it was a very weird way of trying to say that these people need something, need options in their lives, need access to things that can help them feel fulfilled, that they can take part in, and not feel like they're just these secondary characters, which they are, that have nothing to do, like these insignificant cogs that are part of this major machine. And I think much like a lot of other comic books, this is drawing a direct parallel to how a lot of people feel in life, and I think the rigors of the 9 to 5 and work day, people getting caught up in work, or not even working, maybe they don't have a job and they're trying to find purpose in their lives in one way or another, like a lot of people get lost in that, and it's good when people find something for themselves, but a lot of people go through great lengths of their life, and some even die without feeling as if they have found something to fulfill them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a real problem. I think that that decreases the quality of life, which is a crime, because there's only one we know of at this point. But I also think that I don't know if this is intended by the author, but I think them talking about people wanting purpose, and also bringing up the point that people just having sex and then having babies isn't really like helping, because not everybody really wants to deal with these problems after these moments, after these. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it's one of my favorite studies where essentially in countries where people are more quote unquote successful and have a higher quality of living, you know what I'm saying? There is much less childbirth.
Yeah.
As far much less, and not like birth rates are on the decline. It's just not this complete ballooned point that that's bad, because overpopulation is an issue, not at the moment, you know what I'm saying, but the threat of it, the thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can combat that by giving people something to do, so that they don't feel like, I need to have kids and have a family to be important, to feel like I have something.
Yeah.
I don't think this was. I think it was done on purpose. I don't think this was left out. I think these writers are much more knowledgeable than I, and smarter at this point in their lives than mine. And I think that was a point made, and I wanted to bring that to the table.
No, yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think of it like that. Because I was kind of confused as to what she meant, but that makes sense. And especially, it's interesting because a lot of people on Crack.
It was weird. It was weird. I do want to say this. I put that together myself personally. Yeah. You know what I'm just saying? Like I just, because I already had that thought in my head when they was talking about the babies.
No, I think it's
so them
talking
about
I would say that like it's interesting because like the mutants of Krakoa, I don't know how many of them actually really have jobs because we're talking or like anything to do. You know, I think like they created this paradise, right? That's the whole concept of Krakoa is that it's literally just just a place you don't have to worry about anything. They don't seem to have actual currency on the island itself. So yeah, I don't think nobody has bills to pay essentially. The only people we see working on the, characters within our series, everybody else in the tertiary are probably not doing much. So
yeah,
that's an interesting thought. That's the ultimate success,
especially you
theory. That's the ultimate quality of life where you're not stressing about bills or, you're not worried about how you're going to get food on the table because everything's kind of taken care of.
Yeah. But we are creatures, not designed if you believe in an intelligent designer or I guess just evolved, however you want to put it. But biologically speaking, we need things to take our attention and work towards. Stress is good sometimes. Stress is helpful to initiate change and development. Even when our bodies grow, it goes through growing pains, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just an inevitable part of life, and it's also an essential function that we have to fulfill in order to feel right, literally. You know what I'm saying? Like, the same way we feel like, oh, you see someone attractive and you have to be with them, it's the same, the same idea.
Right.
But we need to feel like there is something we're doing.
Yeah.
That's why video games are the shit, man. I mean, you can work a boring ass, unfulfilling ass job, or not just video games. That was just an example, but like that's why hobbies are so important because you have to make money in this world, in this life the way it is. But it's so important to have things that you care about and you're passionate about that you spend your time with. That you can challenge yourself with. Even that's good stress.
Yeah. Definitely agree.
And again, I say that because they are in paradise where they don't have to worry about bills and stuff, but there's still things missing. That's direction and purpose.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good book. I think this is a really good. I mean, we already said this from the jump. We already knew this had a lot of potential, and this was just a small version of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of thoughtful books this week for the X-Men. I would say S.W.O.R.D. and this very fun. A lot to pick at. Let us know what you think about this week's X books in the comments. I'm very interested to see how people interpret it. It's especially Way of X because it's very much rooted in philosophy and all that stuff. So, interested to see how different people kind of see this quest. So let us know. Email us or comment on whatever video you're watching. It'd be cool to hear from you guys. But that's all I got to say about X-Men.